Okay. It is Monday, January 26th, 2026, and I call this business meeting of the Elizabeth School District to order at 6 p.m. Can you get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Here.
Director Fletcher?
Here.
Director Hunt?
Here.
Director Olson?
Here.
Director Powell?
Here.
Okay, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I move that the board approve the business meeting agenda for January 26, 2026 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, I move that the board approve the minutes from the Board of Education special meetings on January 13th, 2026 and January 19th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion on those? All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
We have some wonderful guests here today, so I think what we will do, if you don't mind, let's flip 6-1 and 6-2, and let's let Running Creek do their presentation, if that's okay.
You're up.
Surprise.
So Pauline, you'll just need to push the button on the microphone so the lights come on.
Lights or numbers?
Hold it down for a minute, yeah.
This is 597.
There we go.
Awesome. All right. So before I begin, I would like to thank both the Elizabeth School Board and Superintendent Snowberger for this opportunity to showcase Running Creek Elementary School this evening. But rather than hearing me talk so much, because I do have a tendency to do that, I decided, because I could brag about our excellent teachers, our staff, our students, our families, and our community all day long. But I believe it's far more meaningful for you to hear it directly from those who live it every single day. So it is my honor to present the Running Creek Elementary School's ambassadors and class representatives. So I would like to begin with our first. All right. So we're going to begin with introductions with our 5th grade, then 4th grade, then 3rd grade. Go ahead and begin 5th grade.
When I first became ambassador,
You're introducing yourself right now.
My name is Macy Clemens. I'm in 5th grade. I'm a student, and I'm a Running Creek Elementary student ambassador.
My other 5th grade friends.
My name is Teddy. I'm in 5th grade, and I'm a Running Creek student ambassador. My name is Blake Farnham, and I'm in 5th grade. I'm a Running Creek student ambassador. I am Audrey Myers, and I am a Running Creek student ambassador. I am Karen Hansen, and I'm in 5th grade, and I'm a Running Creek student class representative. My name is Anne-Marie Hyrant, and I am a 4th grade student ambassador at Running Creek. My name is Ethan Briggs, and I'm in 4th grade. I'm a student ambassador at Running Creek. My name is Jackson Fox. I am a 4th grader at Running Creek, and I am a student ambassador. My name is Vienna Hill. I'm a Running Creek student representative. Class representative. My name is Annabelle Atkinson. I'm a Nestor. I'm a Running Creek student, class representative. Hello, my name is Jaden. Good evening. And I am a third grade student ambassador. My name is Bailey Horvath, and I'm a third grade student ambassador at Running Creek. When I first became an ambassador, I thought it was all just about meetings and suggestions. But now I see it's more than that. It's about being a leader and a role model for not only yourself, for your peers and the school. I am proud to be a student ambassador for the school Running Creek Elementary. We have grown very close as a school community, and we have learned so much together. As an ambassador, I have had the opportunity to see how students in all grade levels are succeeding in reaching their goals. I would like to thank our dedicated teachers and staff for all their support and for helping us become strong, responsible leaders. Our school has been fascinating. This school year has been fascinating and made me wonder. From the kindness shown by the students and staff, to the quiet in the hallways and beautiful bells and birds, every detail reflects the growth within our school. This progress has truly been noticed and appreciated. I love being part of Running Creek. As an ambassador at Running Creek Elementary, we enjoy working together to make our school a positive and welcoming place. We strive to help others whenever we can lead by example. Our goal is to be strong role models to encourage all students to learn, grow, and succeed. We have grown together as a school community, much like a beautiful tapestry carefully woven by a skilled weaver. We have learned so much from our amazing and talented staff, and we students have worked hard and achieved great things. We are proud of the determination, effort, and dedication shown by my fellow students and our staff. Running Creek mission focuses on fostering a collaborative, safe, and engaging environment where staff, students, and community members work together to promote individual, academic, social, and emotional growth. The school emphasizes building on student strength, cultivating a love of learning, and ensuring each child feels valued. Running Creek vision. We empower every student to thrive in a safe, positive environment where strong relationships, excellence, and a united commitment to community drive our success. Our goals for the 2025 through 2026 school year are creating climate and culture by a positive mindset, students commit to growth opportunities. Model by being a good example, building student leaders by adding first grade ambassadors and class representatives. Raise our data scores on iReady Math, iReady Reading, CMAS scores for 3rd through 5th grade students. Increase our participation rate, adding STEM for 4th and 5th grade. Work together as a united team of Jaguar students through our core virtues. These values define us as Jaguars. They shape our actions, they guide our choices, and they strengthen every connection we build as a school community. Attendance. We are arriving on time and ready to learn each and every day. Win groups. We are working on our specific area of need. We will take flight, boost in other areas. Encouragement for our high-performing and gifted and talented students. Direct instruction. We are learning in our classrooms through direct instruction from our teachers, both in whole groups and small groups. Who are we? We are Running Creek Jaguars. We're strong in character, united in purpose, and committed to excellence.
Right.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
That was
Excellent.
wonderful. Thank you
Good job.
so much.
Keep up the great work.
You
So
guys
does
are
anybody have any
awesome.
questions for our peoples? Because they're willing to answer them.
Any questions, board members?
I'm just so overwhelmed.
Ah.
You guys did such a wonderful job.
And a very thorough job.
Yes.
You covered it all. Good job. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Keep up the great work.
Yes.
And thank you guys for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, parents.
Thank you, parents.
Thanks, parents.
Thank you.
Round of applause for you too.
Hi. You guys be careful out there. Stay warm.
You too.
Yeah. Yes. At least it's warming up a little bit this week. Thank goodness. We're over that.
Interesting take. Interesting take.
So what grade are you guys in? Third? All right. Good job. Kindergarten or? All
Oh, I
right.
thought you said college.
We'll get there.
Yep, eventually. That's the ultimate goal, right? Either that or, well, you know, whatever he chooses. That was cute. Very cool.
Yeah, normally.
Chick-fil-A, huh?
All right.
We're having some technical
Okay, bring them back in.
Got to.
One more time. Yes.
With Apple TV.
I kind of like that picture.
I like that picture too.
Yeah.
I think it's like chocolate.
Oh, is
That's
it?
my guess.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. You'll have to show me how you fixed that. Like,
Okay. Well, good evening. I am here this evening to present our middle of the year data. So I will be presenting the middle of the year data on iReady for kindergarten through high school actually at this point. So, and it's not going, there we go. So we're going to start with Running Creek middle of the year benchmark. We're going to look at reading scores first. So at the beginning, we have both the beginning of the year and the middle of the year scores projected up here. As you can see, so this is Running Creek. The bottom score is the beginning of the year. The middle of the year is the score on the top. At the beginning of the year, we had 23% of our students scoring in the red. At middle of the year, we have 14% of our students scoring in the red, so we had a 9% decrease. But the nice part of this was that there was a big increase in the number of students scoring in the green. So at the beginning of the year, we only had 24% of our students at or above grade level, and we have, at the middle of the year, 42% of our students scoring in the green. So we saw a nice progression of those students scoring from red moving into yellow, and then yellow students moving into the green.
Kim, can you talk about the colors just real quick,
Yeah.
what the colors mean?
You bet. So the dark red are students that are scoring 3 or more grade levels below. The lighter red is 2 grade levels below. The yellow is students that are scoring 1 grade level below. And at the beginning of the year, we would expect that they would be yellow because they haven't gotten the curriculum. They haven't been taught the standards. These are based on the expectations at the end of the school year. So the lighter green is early on grade level, and then the darker green or the hash colored green is mid or above grade level.
Thank you.
Sorry,
No, that's right.
talk about them so often that I should have stopped and done that, so thank you.
Just so we,
Yes, sir.
I won't ask this on everyone, but like for those kids that are in that dark or
Oop.
light red,
Mm-hmm.
for reading, like what are we doing for them?
So those students are receiving, so remember at every elementary school, we're doing win time, so we have small group instruction time. For the red, the students scoring in the red, those students are being pulled out for small group instruction. Some of those students are getting support through their special education teachers, or they might be being pulled out for take flight therapy. Or they might be working with a reading interventionist on another reading program during that win time. So all of our students, whether they're below grade level, at grade level, or above grade level, are getting the support they need during that win time. So sometimes that's in a small group setting outside of the classroom, sometimes it's with their classroom teacher, and sometimes they get pulled and are getting some support like at above grade level. I know that at Running Creek, they're doing some above grade level support in the library. So they're pushing those students that are already at grade level or above to make sure that we're extending them as well. So everybody during win time stands for what I need. So everybody is getting whatever it is that they need at that time based on their scores. So we revisit the scores after every benchmark and revisit the groups and make adjustments as needed.
And the parents, they're notified?
Yes.
And so they're also helping at
Yes.
home?
Yes, and we send home a report that also provides some supports that parents can do at home as well.
So is it something that they work on monthly, weekly? Do the parents come in and okay, here's where your child is, and or how often does
Well,
that happen?
We do the benchmark 3 times a year, and so
Right.
we have those conversations during MTSS meetings. We'll have those conversations during parent-teacher conferences, or if it's a reading issue, it may be during a read plan meeting.
Okay. Because sometimes parents may not know what to do. Right?
Right.
They're like, what do you want me to do? You just want me to read a Dr. Seuss book or
Right.
okay.
We encourage open conversation between the teachers and the parents in order for parents to help provide support at home as well.
And can I just ask a clarifying question? Because I
Yes,
think it will help as we aim for that straight stick rather than the crooked stick.
Yep.
Is in an ideal world, you're starting the year out, your BOYs
Mm-hmm.
would be mostly green. Is that right?
No.
Because when we're looking at the yellow with 1 grade level below, right, that suggests that we're already starting off a whole year behind, not a year ahead. So maybe just clarify, in an ideal world, what are the colors that we're starting with?
It would be wonderful if all of our students would be green at the beginning of the year. However, when you're testing at the beginning of the year, let's say 2nd grade, it's testing those just finished 1st graders, right, on the end of the year 2nd grade expectations. So you would expect that the students wouldn't be green because they haven't been taught those standards yet. So seeing yellow on your score at the beginning of the year is not unusual because the students haven't been taught 2nd grade material.
So even though it's yellow, which gives the idea of caution, caution, this is a yellow flag,
Yes.
what we're actually saying is that this child is on track. They're not behind yet, even though it says 1 grade level below,
Right.
which suggests they are behind. It's actually on track.
At beginning of the year. Of course, we would want to see, come middle of the year, more students in the green than we did at the beginning of the year, right? And so we're looking for that movement, and then if we have students that aren't making that progression, then we would be looking at them for.
I see. So what you're saying then is also when you get to the end of the year, there really shouldn't be a yellow. It's either
Right.
you are green or you're red.
Right.
there's no
If
longer
you're
a yellow.
still yellow, obviously, there's,
But the point being is that you
Yes.
either are on track now, you
Yes.
completed the material, or you
Yes.
did not complete the material and understand it.
yes.
But if you're in the yellow at the end of the year, you're a year below grade level. So that's the year below grade level mark. So if you're in yellow at the end of the year, you're still a year below. Some of those red students, if they close the gap, may move into yellow, because instead of being 2 years below the beginning of the year, they've closed the gap and now they're only 1 year below. And that's really our intent, is we've got to grow students to grade level. And so students who are behind can't just grow a year's worth of growth. They're never going to catch up if
Sure.
they do. And so we choose this option. So there are multiple reports. We could do norm reference. We could say, let's compare our third graders to other third graders across the nation and how they're scoring in relationship to their peers. We don't choose to do that. That's norm reference, because we know nationally kids aren't reading on grade level. When 40% of the country reads on grade level, why do we want to compare our kids to other kids in the country? We want to compare to what they need to know by the end of the year. So
Well,
that's
and I
why
guess
we
the
choose
reason why I'm
this.
asking for the clarification
Mhm.
is that if you're a parent looking at
Yep.
this, it looks like your child is a grade below at
Yep.
the beginning of the year. It doesn't look like your child is on track.
Right.
So I might even suggest that if you're doing the beginning of the year, what that
Mhm.
yellow should actually say is on track
Yeah.
rather than ahead,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Which is what the green is saying, that they're ahead. They're a little bit ahead of their
Correct.
grade
Yes.
level
Correct.
versus being on track. But by the end of the year, what I hear you saying is if you're still in the yellow, now you have fallen behind.
Yes.
Or you're still
Or-
behind, but you may have caught up. You may have caught up some. You may have
But
moved
you're still
some
behind.
Yeah.
Behind
so-
what your grade level is.
Correct.
Yes.
Which
correct.
is the point.
And the
Yes.
reality is if you're in that hash mark red, that means you're 3 or more grade levels below. If we moved a student in third grade to yellow, that means we've grown them 2 years in that one.
Sure.
So, and then hopefully if we do that next year, they'll move into green because they'll catch up. So that's the key is we always want to see students compared against what we expect them to know and be able to do. And so that's why we choose this option. Like I said, if we presented the norm reference data, it would probably look great compared to nationwide. We have expectations that we want to
I'm
choose
glad
that.
we use this
Yeah.
model. I just think that for
We need to explain what
parents to
yellow means.
understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean my
Correct.
fourth grader is only at third grade level. It means if they're in the yellow, they're on track.
Absolutely.
But by the end of the year, we need to make sure that that's mostly green.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Yep,
bet.
yeah. Good conversation.
Thank you. And so I also included a slide I haven't provided before. This is placement by domain. So reading has 7 domains. And so this is a breakdown of our strengths and some areas for improvement. You can see that we seem to do really well with high frequency words and phonics. And you can see that there's some opportunities for improvement in vocabulary, comprehension, literature, and then informational text always seems to be an area across all grade levels that seems to lag a little bit behind. Because if you think about it, when you go home and you're reading to your child at night, you're probably not reading them, any kind of informational text. You're reading them a fairy tale, or you're reading them some kind of fun literature. So in our classrooms, we also focus on informational text. Our curriculum has a lot of informational text
So
provided.
informational text, that would be like the
Nonfiction.
encyclopedia or
Nonfiction.
the
A book- a book on the-
instructions
a
for
book on
doing
the
something.
A book about the moon, it might be
Okay.
about space, but without aliens and,
Sure. Which is what they're, when they take the SAT, there's a lot of that, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
ACT has a lot of that.
Yep.
Well, and basically, when you look at it, you can learn to read while learning
Yes.
history, while learning
Yes.
science, while,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that we've utilized core knowledge is because of the fact that it does come with an informational text and a lot of historical and science stories provided.
Yeah. Now you're just trying to be teacher's pet by bringing up core knowledge.
So here's a breakdown of the scores, beginning and middle of the year, kinder, first, and second grades. So again, remember this is for reading. So you can see the growth between the beginning of the year and the middle of the year for all of those grade levels. Obviously, you're not going to typically see a plot, if any, read in kindergarten and first, because remember, those are 2
They
years
just
below or more. And then third, fourth, and fifth grade. Questions?
And this is still Running Creek?
Yes,
correct?
this is still Running Creek.
Okay.
Made a lot of progress on grade 5.
Yes.
Grade 4 was kind of static.
Was static. We did have a teacher leave in October, so we had to replace a teacher in fourth grade, which, if you recall, that's the same grade that we struggled with last year with multiple teachers in that classroom. We do have an instructional coach coming in and helping support not only those teachers, but some of the other teachers in our building. She's coming alongside them. She's an experienced teacher, has taught fourth grade for many years. She is coming in and helping doing lesson planning and unit planning. She's modeling lessons. She's helping with small group instruction. So she's really coming in and helping support those teachers, but she's also helping out throughout the building as well.
It's good to see the 5th graders who were in the 4th grade last year who came in and were sad at
Yep.
the beginning. Or,
Yes.
Closing the gap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good job there.
Yep.
Yeah, you look at the red at the beginning of the year in 5th grade, and the movement that those teachers have been able to gain. It's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions about Running Creek reading? Okay. We'll move on to Singing Hills. This is reading again. Same kind of slide, if you'll look. At the beginning of the year, we started out with 17% of our students scoring in the red. We had a decrease of 8%, so we have only 9% of our students scoring in the red at the middle of the year. Our green grew from 32% to 58% from beginning of the year to the middle of the year. Questions on this? Okay. Again, a breakdown by domain. You can see that, again, high frequency words seems to be a strength of ours, and the phonics, and then literature again, strong. So looks like we might need to focus across the 2 elementaries a little bit on our vocabulary and some informational text areas. Questions?
Excellent.
And this is a breakdown of those same scores by grade level. So you can see the growth in our students in kindergarten, first grade. You see a little bit of the red there in first grade. And then second grade. And we have third, fourth, and fifth. Again, fifth grade is really strong. Look at our fourth graders.
In the last column, that's kind of how many students out of the total
That-
that took the
Yes.
assessment. So, we talked before about how some people opt their kids out. So this actually looks pretty high.
This, they don't opt out of iReady.
Oh.
They will opt out of CMAS.
Oh, CMAS, that's right.
We did have, during the time period that we were taking the assessment, you have an assessment window, and it's usually open for 2 or 3 weeks. We had a lot of sickness going around in the district. So we had some students that, they ended up taking the test, but it may have been after we closed the window.
Okay.
So, or some of those students, no, that probably is all students that were sick or vacation because it was before Christmas.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Questions? Okay, we're going to look at the middle school reading scores.
So do we feel that this is significant improvement?
It's definitely improvement. Again, what we're trying to do right now is disaggregate the data, find where are we struggling, where are there specific groups of students who are struggling, and how do we further move them. So we're moving, but obviously until every student's out of the red, we're not satisfied. So
Sure.
we've got work to do. Yeah, but it's definitely massive improvement over what we were seeing.
I think we're still working on shoring up our Tier 1 instruction, making sure that we're utilizing the curriculum that we are using with fidelity, and making sure that that instruction in front of the classroom teacher is really strong. Our goal is to hopefully not need, the small group, really intense intervention. That means we have to start with our Tier 1 instruction. So this is probably first full year of implementation of our core curriculum with fidelity and with intentionality. So
Do we believe that Take Flight, has that moved
It's
any of the
moved-
kids?
it's moved
after-
children who have not moved for a long time, it's moving them, which is critical. So when you have dyslexia, it's not a longer and louder, it's a change in instruction, and that's what Take Flight is. So we're pleased. Could we use 3 or 4 or 5 or 8
10.
more, 10 more groups? Yes. And so we had 5 teachers step forward, interested in becoming counts for next year. And so
Great.
we're excited about the interest in our staff to really get that professional development to become a certified academic language therapist, so we can increase the number of groups we have next year. But the kids who are in Take Flight are definitely showing massive growth. Many of those kids are 3 grade levels below. And so
at least.
it's going to take some time for them to grow and catch up while their peers are still moving ahead another year every year. So
But you have kids that are moving out of the red and into the yellow.
exactly,
which is-
Yes.
which is critical. This slide is probably the one that I think outlines the biggest challenge and why we asked you to change your policy on progressing children out of elementary school who aren't on grade level. When you look at the number of students at the beginning of the year at the middle school that are 2 or more grade levels below, including those that are 3 or more grade levels below, we're moving them to a grade level pattern where we don't have teachers who went to school to teach reading. We have content teachers at the middle school, and so we have intervention programs, we have Take Flight there, but we have to stem that. We have to, the research says children who leave elementary reading below grade level are 8 times more likely to drop out of school. This is exactly what you get. You get kids who arrive at middle school and they can't read, and you don't have teachers there that are necessarily specialized as reading teachers. And so we've tried to close that gap. We have a reading interventionist. We have certainly work that's happening there with Take Flight. But hopefully, as we look at children very carefully at elementary school and intervene and make sure that they're no less than a year, so they wouldn't come here unless they were yellow, we hopefully will change that tide for our students in the district. So that's really critical.
Is there incentive for teachers to become certified, other than points?
There is, our plan is to create a CELT salary scale. Our special ed teachers currently have a separate scale. We've not moved our CELTs yet off of the regular teacher scale. I think our intention for next year is we will. They've received specialized training. It's a master's level training program, so certainly we believe that probably warrants.
And the district pays for that training.
Yes.
Correct. And we
So that's an
require
incentive all
teachers-
by itself to have
Teachers who
an
go through that
certification.
training are required to commit 3 years to
Yeah.
the district, so.
One
It's
thing I
very expensive.
will tell you is Take Flight Therapy is a 2-year program. So students are intended to be in that program for 2 years. So while we're seeing some movement now, I think it'll be next year and even the year after that you'll see the most growth and the most movement in those students. So we have to think of it more long-term for
Yeah,
some of those students.
sure.
It's not a one and done kind of thing. But we're filling in those gaps so that they can be successful in the future, so.
Yeah.
Take a look goes all the way back to the very beginning of foundational reading and learning sounds and learning in a way that connects with the brain of a student who has dyslexia. And so you're really like going all the way back to the beginning to fill in all those gaps before you can launch.
So we're talking about at the middle school, we have actually a couple of the high school students coming down for take flight therapy and starting at the beginning, and we're talking
Wow.
learning letters and sounds all over again.
From the high school.
Yeah.
But they've made progress, they've made
Yes.
significant progress.
They've
And,
made
and
tremendous
one of
progress.
them has expressed great support for the program. He realizes that he's learning to read,
Awesome.
so.
And 8th grade, if they're in the red, they don't move on.
We're gonna be looking very carefully at every student who's in the red to make sure that we either have a plan, they come to summer school, we do some massive instruction over the summer, or we consider whether it's best that they have another year at the middle school. So all of those are options that we'll be talking about with each of those families.
Okay.
One of the things that Take Flight does have is they have a consolidated program, an accelerated program called JET, which is a one-year program, and it's intended for like late middle school, high school kind of students, because obviously we don't have as much time with them before they graduate, right?
Yeah.
So the intention is to get some Take Flight therapists that are specifically trained in JET to the high school and also over to the middle school to try to consolidate that work.
And I would hope that those conversations with those families are starting now at
Yeah.
the beginning of this
Yes.
semester,
Yes, they
because they only have this one
Yeah.
semester.
Yeah.
Yep.
To
That's
make
why
it
we're
happen.
doing data digs and
We're-
having
And I
those
think if parents know,
identified.
and kids too, know that, gosh, I might get held back if I can't get my reading up,
Right,
they're gonna take it seriously.
right.
Well,
And
and
the
that's
key-
exactly what we changed our policy to read just a few months ago, that, you know, at the 3rd grade, 5th grade levels, after this mid-year assessment, if it was a certain amount below, those conversations would happen and the parents would be alerted to the fact that their child either needed intervention or potentially be held back. So
Children who-
that's what the
Right,
policy
who
says.
but I'm
too,
saying that
yeah.
I think if kids know too, that
Oh,
I
yeah.
might not be able
Yeah.
to go on
Yeah.
with my friends,
Yeah.
they're gonna take this semester a lot more serious.
The key though is, we also can't assume that a student needs a whole nother year of 9th grade or of 8th grade. And so we have to shift this mindset, like if you're held back for a whole nother year. As soon as you're ready to launch, you need to launch. We can't continue because you're disincentivized. What if I'm missing these 8 core skills? Do I really need to stay a whole year to get those? We've talked at the high school about the fact that, you know, you need to second semester actually have start of whatever our first level of math is, again, because there are kids who in that first semester can close the gap and be ready to move on. And so we have to shift this whole paradigm of you're held back for a year to you're held back until you're ready. And granted, we can't say middle of October we're going to move you on because classes are in the middle, but certainly we can say at semester you have the opportunity of moving on. And so that's a whole different mindset, and it's a whole different shift in the system, because we're so used to, well, you need to be a 3rd grader again next year. Well, what if you only needed, 6 months to catch up? Let's not hold you back and have you waste your time.
And what if you are at grade level and you're doing well in all of the other subjects, but it's just math or it's just reading, that,
That's the
Sure.
piece that might say, if math is the area of concern, but reading their own grade level, do we retain them, or do we ensure that when they go to high school, they have what they need to continue to close the gap in the other areas? So those are all gonna be conversations that we'll have over is retention right? So if you're 2 or 3 grade levels below in all areas, it makes sense for you to remain and get the right instruction. But again, the best retention with the best teachers qualified to teach reading and the foundational skills is at the elementary level, and that's where our policy is really clear moving forward. So
But as you said, because the dropout rate is so high for kids who are in the red, once they get into the upper levels,
Yep.
we can't just keep passing them on. We have to make sure that they know what they need to know
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
successful.
that's not fair to them.
No.
Yeah, just because you're a 6th grader doesn't mean 6th grade math is what you need. You may need something less, and
Sure.
we've got to expand those options for kids who have already moved beyond that. We don't have that ability to say, let's get you at grade level. So that's going to be critical.
Okay. Next slide, placement by domain. Obviously, phonological awareness was not tested at the middle school level, but you can see the majority of our students at middle school are solid in phonics or high frequency words. You can see that we need to look at maybe some development of some vocabulary and, informational text again.
Kids who are probably read in phonics would be our Take Flight kids. Our kids who are really still struggling
Oh,
to decode.
thank you, because I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they may be students that have developmental delays
Yeah.
that
Haven't ventured away from phonics at some point.
I don't know if this district ever did. They might have at some point. That was a trend in the late '80s, early '90s. Was not do phonics anymore, but it shouldn't have impacted these kids. I would think
it
phonics
should
would
not
have been,
have.
yeah, phonics would have been part of the program for these students.
And here's the breakdown by grade level. Questions on this?
What this tells me is we need more intervention available at the middle school. So retaining a student at middle school is not necessarily the end-all be-all unless we can increase the number of professionals who have high skill in teaching reading. Because again, when you look at the 8th graders, you see very little movement of that red group. And again, you know, we've got to be able to intervene, we've got to be able to grow them, we've got to be able to fill those gaps before we push them on. So if they're students in that band for both math and language arts, then the question is going to be another year, but another year with what? We've got to look at increasing intervention options at the middle school. We've got to look at, similar to I think what David said earlier, is, you know, it may mean that you only get one elective because we may need you to do a second math block to actually close that gap, or we may need you to do a reading targeted class. So that means that I can't always get 3 electives, I might only get 1, and I may need to do something different. But I'm firm that I'd like them to get an elective, but they may not get 3.
And I personally think that providing more opportunities for that type of personal tutoring is exactly not just what the kids need, but what the families would want as well.
Absolutely.
Because it is like a personal tutoring session that they get to work on their specific skills
And
that
close
need
those
emerging.
gaps for them.
Yes.
So,
Is there, I mean, kind of to your point there, I was just gonna ask, because I know that there are some parents who are resistant to their kids having these interventions. Is that an issue, especially in
Really?
middle school?
That's
It
or-
was at the middle school, yes.
That's a thing?
We
Yes.
actually had several parents that were notified that their students would be in a reading intervention program that then opted their child out.
Because at this point, they're saying, well, I never heard this before,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna go.
I will say though, we had many parents who second semester said, okay, no, let's do that. So,
Okay.
so
Well, that's
again,
good.
it was a culture shock when you
Yeah.
have,
So that's good
this
that
test
it's
doesn't
turning
matter,
around.
it doesn't
Yes.
mean that your child's really below, it's
Yeah.
just another test, to, oh my gosh, this really means something, and yes,
Yeah.
there are really gaps,
Well,
that's a whole,
hallelujah, that
to
there's
shift in
change
culture.
in that
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, thank you.
And I think the increasing communication with the parents and the families ahead of time, so
Yeah.
looking at the data at the end of this school year and saying, based on this, your child will be in a reading intervention class.
Mhm.
That way they're prepared for that when they come back in the fall. And then if they score well, let's say the end of the year scores, they were a fluke, right? And they score much better at the beginning of the next school year, then maybe you make that adjustment and put them in another elective. I think having those conversations ahead
Right,
of
because you
time
said
is
that
good.
Take Flight is intended to be a 2-year program, but if the students are progressing and they don't
Right.
need to stay in the program,
Right,
then they can go back to the 2 electives or whatever the option is.
Yeah, most of the students in Take Flight are gonna remain
Yep,
there.
they'll
I mean,
they're
that's
so
not
low
a-
that,
If you're in Take Flight, then we've already dissected to the point of which you clearly have dyslexic tendencies that are getting in your way, and it's going to take some time to overcome that, because again, we're going back to the very beginning to actually teach you how to read. You may have built compensating skills, you may memorize words, you may have, limped your way through, but you still can't decode words that you don't know, and so Take Flight students typically are not gonna, like.
So you think
read.
it still takes 2 full years
Yeah.
for them to
It
be able
does.
to
Especially-
develop all those
Especially
skills?
if they're at the middle school level and most of our middle schoolers plateau at third grade if they're dyslexic. It's hard to get beyond that level because, again, you're memorizing words, and you can only memorize so many words. And so as you're introduced to new concepts, it's harder for you to figure out meaning without being able to actually decode the word. And so you, like I said, third grade is not an uncommon grade to see someone plateau at who's dyslexic. And again, you gotta go all the way back and learn how to decode before you can move forward.
So are you suggesting though that everyone in the red is part of the Take Flight program? No.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
No, some students are in Take Flight, some are just in reading intervention classes, so we're
Okay.
filling in gaps. Maybe it's a comprehension or vocabulary issue. So those students would be able to maybe test out early.
Yeah.
Students
Okay.
that are in Take
'Cause
Flight
they're closer.
would not.
Because I think on the last screenshot you had up here, it
This
was,
one?
oh, sorry, the one before this. Wasn't it just around 100 students? Or no, it was a little over 100 students
Yeah.
that were factoring in the red, but not that many who are Take Flight. The
Because
majority
we can only do 5
that are
students.
just getting intervention.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting other interventions, and again, there are kids who need Take Flight that we just don't have a spot for. And that's where we need to increase our intervention, our counts, because we can serve only so many. You can't cram those classes with 20. It is a 5 maximum
Yeah.
program, so if you go over 5, you've lost the effectiveness for all students. And so, if a student moves out, you can't drop another student in because there are already X number of lessons into so you have to start a group and a cohort, and that cohort stays together. Or kids at that point have to stay together.
I see.
So, if you had 2 groups that started at the beginning of the year, and one lost 2 and one lost 3, you could combine those and teach them together. But you can't just, oh, there's an opening, hey, you're dyslexic, go into that program, they'd
Right.
be lost.
Do we have much turnover in those groups? Hopefully not, since
I
it builds.
wouldn't say a whole lot, no.
Mm.
We
And-
have had some, so we have some groups that are not 5 anymore because, again, a
Students
student
move
moved
away
out,
or-
and so if that occurs, then that group is now a four-member group,
Yeah.
so.
Do you always start the groups at the beginning of the year, or can you
Um,
start them,
we
like if
can
you
sta- we can start
We can start
consolidated, you
them.
could start a
We
new
just
group?
have to have another section and then start them at the beginning, and then that group will become a cohort moving
Our
forward.
problem is not having enough time and not having enough instructors, so. Okay, we will move on to math then. We're going back to Running Creek, so math. Beginning of the year, middle of the year comparison. At the beginning of the year, we had 25% of our students scoring in the red. At the middle of the year, we had 13, so a nice 12% decrease there. In the green, we had 13% at the beginning of the year, and at the middle of the year, we have 29%. So good decrease in students scoring in the red and moving into the yellow. Breakdown by placement, so number and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. And yes, they do algebra in the elementary school. It's kind of amazing. So here's breakdown by grade level. You can see the growth.
So you're gonna notice the red in our district continues to grow as students progress through our system. We talked about this at our curriculum review committee. And so that's the area of concern is if we're seeing the red continue to grow over time, then Houston, we have a problem, and we should look at it, and that's what our curriculum review committee will begin doing now, effective immediately.
And here's your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students.
Now, in that case, you see 5th grade eliminated an awful lot of red.
Yeah.
So, again, there are situations where we're seeing some great growth, but
Okay. Singing Hills, middle of the year. At the beginning of the year, we had 21% of our students scoring in the red. Middle of the year, we had 10%. And at the beginning of the year, we had 17% of our students scoring in the green, and we're up to 38% middle of the year.
We're seeing some pretty good progression with students.
Breakdown by domain.
It's just interesting geometry geometry is the most tactile of all of these. It's the least esoteric, and yet more children are having problems with that than any other.
And we actually, when Bill Dallas was here his last year, and I think maybe part of when you had joined our team, Kim, we actually looked, and geometry falls into some of the last units in the book.
Got it.
And
So all of the
Consistently.
testing, even CMAS testing is in April, and they don't learn it until May.
Right.
Yeah, so recognizing that even though the book doesn't teach till the end, we probably need to accelerate students, because again, that's a critical skill, and that's what we're not getting to. It's kind of like when we were in high school, how many of us didn't get past the, Korean War? That might have been as far as we got, I mean, it's just, whatever's at the end of the book is most likely to be compromised, so.
That makes sense.
We've gotta figure out how to make sure that pacing occurs in such a way that students are introduced to every concept.
And so you shuffle around in your planning before school starts, you shuffle around some of the chapters or the units of instruction to make sure you hit those before, especially before testing. Not that we teach to the test, but it's not fair
Well,
to
it
students,
skews the
right?
numbers, right?
Right, so it's really not fair to the students for them to be sitting in front of the assessment and not having gotten
Any
that
knowledge.
instruction yet, right?
Yeah.
So. Here's breakdown by grade level, kindergarten, first, second. And then for third, fourth, and fifth.
In that case, if we look at fifth grade, we've got kind of a stagnant group, moving kids from yellow to green, but we need to dig a little deeper as to what's the challenge, what's the impediment there with those students.
Questions? Okay, middle school math. Beginning of the year, we had 33% of our students scoring in the red. Middle of the year, 26%, so a little bit of a decrease there. At the beginning of the year, we had 31% scoring in the green and 40% at the middle of the year, so good increase there.
Okay, I'm concerned about how are we intervening with students. If all we do at sixth grade is put kids in sixth grade math, we don't have math interventionists. We're not thinking what do they need. We're just plugging them into a curriculum that we're not prepared for. So that's got to change.
With math, there may just be a particular concept that is just buggering them.
Yep.
And
And if
they
we,
just-
and if we give direct instruction in that, we can close that gap and move students on.
Yeah.
And the way math builds upon itself, if you're lucky in the foundation, you're gonna have really quick pupils. So,
Yeah.
So having a math intervention class would be helpful. That way you have, the teachers have that time to be able to hone into what that skill is
Yeah.
and being able to fill that gap. And then, once they have it, they send them on, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to be
Yeah.
in there all year. And we are looking and talking about that for next school year as we're planning for next school year, so.
Well, the person that teaches that class doesn't need to be a PhD mathematician, right? That person just needs to be able to understand what is the deficiency, and then,
and have the knowledge and skills to teach.
yeah, every adult in our district should be able to teach fractions, right?
We want someone who's gonna be really strong.
Yes.
Have that solid foundation.
Right.
A lot of people who, again, we have teachers who teach math who will say, my worst subject was math. We as Americans get that in our heads, you're either good at math
Yeah.
or you're awful at math. And we
Mhm.
say that
That's gotta
publicly.
stop.
Yep.
Many people say, I'm just not good at math. Well, we kind of perseverate that thinking
Yeah.
through our students, and so, so we do need someone who's got a very strong grasp on that to intervene.
Here's a breakdown by domain. Measurement and data was a strength of ours during this assessment, so it's good to see, and algebraic thinking, and number of, and operations. Questions on the middle school? Here's breakdown by grade level.
Again, we see green growing, we don't see red necessarily decreasing, except in sixth grade. We do see sixth grade moving a few more kids, and seventh grade's moving some, but we're just not seeing the mass movement that we're seeing earlier in the grades where students might have less of a gap or may have less of those foundational skills missing, so.
And the 3 grades are below for 8th grade didn't change at all, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's definitely not good for our 8th graders.
Yeah, well, and again, they
No
think
wonder
eighth
they're
grade
not
math.
doing well in
Yeah.
So
high school.
there's not
Yeah,
enough
we teach in high
intervention.
schools.
You're eighth grade, you're in eighth grade math, and you're trying to scaffold for students who are 3 grade levels below. So it makes sense, obviously, we have to change that.
And we are working on a math intervention kind of program at the middle school, but also talking about that at the high school too. So maybe possibly remedial math or something like that for students that aren't ready for the next level. Okay. Questions? Okay. I will preface that this is the first time these students have taken the iReady benchmark
in high school.
in high school. So this was given to our students that are in integrated math 1, 2, and 3, okay? At the high school level with this assessment, 61% of our students are scoring in the red.
Yes.
What percent of kids are in the green?
23.
Okay. From last year on PSAT, 23%.
Yeah.
It's interesting that those numbers jive, right? So anybody wants to argue, well, this is skewed, it's like, well, but I got this other data set that
Yeah.
also says the same thing, right?
So this data definitely aligns. Again, you have students, we did have some students who allegedly took the test with a sub because the teacher was out sick. You know, does that skew it? Do students take it as seriously? There's lots of things, but to that point, the data is aligned with ultimately.
Yeah, if all we had was this, okay, maybe.
What I will say is for those students, administration did walk through the classroom and while they were assessing.
Good.
And here is a breakdown by domain. I knew you'd be interested in this one. Our strength is in number and operations, measurement and data. We did not take this assessment at the beginning of the year. We've
Sure.
not had a high school assessment that we've given,
Yeah.
so that we have this
Gotta
data.
start
So
somewhere.
this is the first.
Yeah.
Um,
Copy.
I would like to go ahead and plan on giving this assessment at the end of the year so we can see if there's, how much growth there is between
Yep.
beginning or middle of the year and end of the year.
I think prepping our students with it being important for placement for next year is going to be really critical. That students know that, you know, do your best on this because it is a piece of that data that we're going to consider as we think about what do you need next year. Just because we
Right.
have students who have been in Math 1 who haven't progressed doesn't mean we're going to force them onto Math 2. It doesn't mean we're going to repeat ninth grade math if they're that far below. We need to be prepared. So I think the conversation with students about what this is about is going to be really critical. I think there was some of that this year, but I think we want to increase that
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Questions? see if we can make it work this time.
Is it not allowing you to progress?
That was the end of it.
Oh, that was in, oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was it
No,
like
it was
it wasn't
not.
a
I
body?
have one more slide.
Yeah,
I'm
you have
so
one more
sorry.
slide. Yeah, that's why I said, go ahead.
I was like,
Sorry.
what? No. Confused. We'll try this again. Sorry. Breakdown by grade level.
So for 12th graders that are still struggling in integrated math, it's clear it's just not working for them.
So the 12th graders in integrated math, I know the plan is sort of 9th grade is integrated 1, 10th is integrated 2,
11th is
11th.
integrated
So are the ones in 12th grade who are still in it, are they,
means they weren't
repeating?
successful and they were repeating.
okay.
Yeah. The 8th grader that's there is there because he's ready, or she's ready. I'm not sure who that is, but there's one 8th grader who goes to the high school for math. And obviously they're there because we've determined they have all the prerequisite skills. So that's the success of a student who's ready for math
Yeah.
Right.
versus you're in 9th grade, so you've got to take it whether you're ready or not.
That's pretty cool.
So there's actually 2 students according to that who
Oh.
are, it says 1 out of 2, but only 1 took the assessment.
It could be that the other one was gone.
Yeah. So,
Or-
but that's interesting. I didn't know we had any 8th graders who went to
Yeah, we have
that
8th
school.
graders who go. We have advanced math at the middle school, but we do have students who are so far advanced that they're ready to actually walk across the street and do the math class.
Good for them.
I hate the idea of that.
That's a lot of
Going
dark
with
red in
that.
grade 12.
It
Right.
is, it is.
Backsliding.
Definitely not ready for college.
Well, but this is.
Not college math, at least.
Not
This is
college
why you
math,
do
I think that's
assessments, so you have information to make decisions on.
We know,
Right.
we know that nationally, students who are going to college are taking more and more remedial classes. I mean, again, this is not a let's get down on ourselves. We want better, and I think looking at this data is what it takes for us to get there, so.
Why did only 20 12th graders?
Because there were only 20 that were still integrated math.
Oh,
We didn't
still
test,
in.
we didn't
Yes.
test it.
We only
didn't test the
tested
12th
integrated
graders who were in
students.
calc or in Treg or whatever the
Yeah.
Got it.
classes we offer.
That
So
makes sense.
Strictly the kids who were in integrated math we
Okay.
tested.
It would be interesting to test the ones in trade.
They would be so far advanced, I'm not sure that this would be beneficial.
That would be, it'd be nice there to see more green.
Yeah. We just want to
That's
see more.
true.
We want the first line.
That is
for all of
true.
them.
That is
It'd be nice
true.
to see more green.
Right. Questions?
Well, I guess one clarifying question on your point, Mike, is that 153, that's the number of seniors that there are, but not every senior is taking math in their senior year either.
They're not,
Not taking
correct. There are some who
integrated
don't
math.
have to take math.
Some of them aren't taking math at all.
Right.
There's a plausibility where they didn't. They might have taken advanced math. I think we require 4 years of math. So they're probably taking some math.
Like a
or
statistics
they've-
class
Or
or
they've earned
something
an extra
else.
math credit prior to coming to high school, or while in high school, they may have taken 2 math. So there is a plausibility that there's a 12th grader who's maxed out their math. But the reality is most of our 12th graders are not taking integrated any longer. They're taking something else.
So we do require 4 years of math?
I think it's in our graduation
so.
requirements, 4 years of math and 4 years of language arts.
So we need to change that to 4 passing years.
What'd you say?
4 passing years.
Oh.
I think that's a
Yeah.
requirement in the,
Yeah,
in the
still you have to pass.
credits,
You don't
because
get
you don't get
credit.
the credits
Yeah.
if you don't pass.
You have to have 4 credits of math on your
Well, and that
course.
does, make you question, is it possible that many students are still getting passing grades when their level is clearly not reflective of understanding the material? How can that be?
I think it's a bigger conversation about do grades mean mastery, or do grades have some citizenship? Am I doing my homework? Am I doing some extra credit? And those are all things that come into play that high school is talking about, is how do we make sure grades are mastery?
Right.
And again, we've got a lot of 9th graders who aren't ready for integrated math 1, but it's all we have to offer. And so we have some kids who are failing math because we put them in a class that they're not prepared for. And so, whether the curriculum's right or not, truly their proficiency is not where it needs to be for them to even engage in the curriculum we currently have. So we have to change that pathway, and we will for next year.
given the status of that curriculum, it's no wonder that kids don't progress.
Well, and I do want to say thank you, because when we did talk about integrated math earlier in the fall, one of the questions that came up during the presentation was, well, is there any data that shows that it's successful? And so it was spurred out of that conversation that we ended up having this testing to be able to say, is the path that we're on actually equipping the kids to be able to graduate with a good knowledge base of math? And I think what we see is that the data is telling us no, but I'm grateful that this board was willing to do the testing to see what are the results. Let's just look at the facts and we'll go from here.
Data has to drive our decisions, and
Yeah.
if we don't have data, we better go find it.
Yeah.
So,
Just
yeah.
because other districts use it doesn't mean it's a good fit for us. One of the things that confused me was, it's like, well, integrated math is taught in, it's taught in Japan, it's taught in, China, it's taught in these countries that have very strong math scores, but I actually looked it up. It's taught, but not the same way we teach it here.
And it depends on the
They
whole.
basically have a pathway, like traditional math used to have. But what their integration is, they integrate it into other subjects. We don't just say, well, this week you're doing calculus, next week you're doing algebra, and just, it's all integrated together, math. No, they have pathways.
And the pathways start in kindergarten. There is a preparation to be at that level. That's why those countries are successful, and we have,
We used to do it.
yeah, and we kind of talked about that in the curriculum review committee earlier, how it's kind of like a whole different way of teaching, but that's not how we have, taught K through 8. And so all of a sudden you've got this one system, and then you dump them into this other system, and you're like, what the heck? And so that's what we're discovering, what we're realizing, and that's what we're preparing to change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have board updates. Who wants to kick it off?
I don't really have anything particular today.
No update.
Well, I don't have too much, but I had good stuff. I was at the DAC meeting last Thursday, and it was exciting to hear the different things they have going on at the schools. It's exciting to hear, for example, Singing Hills they have nights where they're bringing in the parents, like literacy night, math night, to help the parents basically engage with them and help them to help their child with instruction in the evening. So that was very
Yeah,
exciting.
that's good. Yeah, I think the math night at Singing Hills is on the 11th, because we're scheduling something around that, so it was exciting. That's cool to see.
So
Yeah.
that was my little blip. I
And
thought that was
did
a
you
lot
go to
of
the
fun.
Hunters of Legacy
No.
ball game? Anybody go? I didn't get to go, but yeah, so it's always good that they do that.
Yeah.
The
I
basketball
woke up
game every
Friday
year.
morning trying to get that cold that's going around, but Jamie got it instead. Sorry, I apologize.
Really?
I did spend a lot of my time, were you done? Did I interrupt you?
No, not at all.
Okay, I did spend a lot of my time over the holidays, working on a point paper for math. I know you read it, and
That's awesome.
you read it, and just, if you get a chance, look at it. It's not meant to be, here's my recommendation for this X curriculum. It's supposed to be like just kind of our guidance of how we want to go about selecting a curriculum, things that we believe should be considered for math. So that's, I think I sent that to everybody, so if you.
And thank you, because that was a lot of work, but it was very informative. Thank you.
The appendix is meant to be a look at assessments, so that's supposed to be that's not just the high school, that's just how we look at assessments. And I expect some pushback on that. I don't think that that's probably not how a lot of math teachers want to do things, but I'd like to get us to a point where we don't use calculators or technology for math instruction, because I think it's a detriment to actual learning. I know that runs against the grain, but Silicon Valley is removing technology from their kids, so I don't think that's a bad thing.
That's interesting.
You shouldn't be using a calculator at all in elementary school, and then even up into high school. So anyway, it's almost two different papers, the assessments piece, because we've had some issues with assessments and how we should look at that. So that's what the second paper is. So.
Well, I like the fact we're moving forward and starting to make some progress.
Yes, and I think our CRC meeting was very good today, and I'm excited for some things coming up.
Okay, you
My
are
turn?
up.
Okay. Well, I have the great pleasure of introducing, not only to you all, but to our community, Ted Knight. Ted will be, as you know, Kim is retiring at the end of the year, and with all of this work we have in curriculum, needless to say, we don't have time to lose that opportunity of having someone engage and start carrying the load as Kim begins to step back. And so Ted is our new academic systems consultant. He will be working with me and our staff, our teachers. I will say that's probably where Ted's strengths will be, is coming alongside our teachers, getting their voice and understanding of where we are and what we're doing. And so I'm really excited. Ted has been a teacher, a principal, district administrator, a superintendent. He brings a vast array of experience. Most close here is assistant superintendent in Douglas County for a number of years, and Ted was very instrumental in the beginnings, conversations of the legacy program that exists now at Douglas County, where we have that great career center. That's one of Ted's passions. And then also, I'm always excited to brag on Ted. Ted was a principal in Harrison School District when I was there, and Ted's intervention in that building, of building the high poverty, over 80% poverty, was first school to actually achieve 100% proficiency on the CMS exam. So we know we know it can be done. We know that with good instruction, kids can learn, and so I'm excited to have a new partner join our team and begin to work. He was here today for his first day and got out to 2 of our schools, and we'll continue to get out to all of our schools this week and doing a data dig tomorrow, and really trying to help us kind of jumpstart moving forward. So, Ted, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're very excited that you're having it. Thank you. Very excited. And you kind of just jumped both feet right in the fire.
Yeah.
What do you
get in his way, that's for sure. Hunter's Legacy, we're excited about what we do every year. Wish Week is an important week across the districts. Our elementaries, our middle school gets involved. And Lex is our 4-year-old that we've adopted. Lex wants to go on a Disney cruise. He's a bone marrow transplant survivor, and someone who obviously is overcoming a lot of challenges. And so I'm just really proud of our kids who make that a focus for a week. And so there's so many restaurant nights this week. I think tomorrow is Chick-fil-A. I saw you at Chick-fil-A tonight.
Yeah.
It's like
Tomorrow night you better get it too.
Wrong night. Tonight was, I think, Panda Express. So
Okay.
yeah,
I think
still
Fox's
time.
Pizza.
So anyways, anything you can do to support, and there is the ability for people to give online. I gave online today, so if anyone wants to donate to help our district achieve the goals for Lex, certainly feel free to go online and do that. Mid-year assessments, as you've seen, we've completed mid-year assessment, and it's one thing to do assessments, it's another thing to use them, and so I'm really proud of our staff and our principals who have been digging into that during their PLC time, really trying to find, okay, what do we need to do different for our kids? And so know that the data isn't admired, it's acted upon, and so really proud of that work. Again, we do have an expectation of mastery and closing that gap, and so difficult conversations will begin with families. We are planning a summer learning institute for students who are behind, a very concentrated, very focused instructional experience for them to close that gap. And so that will be something coming up. It'll be 6 weeks during the summer, so it's not a quick, 2-day a week and we're done. It's definitely an intensive experience for students to hopefully close the gap. And then lastly, my next forum is on Thursday, February 12th. Again, just an opportunity for parents to come and engage in conversation about what are we doing well and what can we do better and how can we work together. So that'll be at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. I think with that, I'll stop. So.
Okay. And no public comment this evening? Okay, so we will move on. So, next up we have consent agenda. So I move that the board approve consent items 8.1 through 8.3 as presented.
Second?
Can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Todd?
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we are going to discuss our mid-year budget revisions.
Do a motion first and call the question afterwards, or you want to present first?
Let's have him present first.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
All right, mid-year numbers are almost finalized. We had an update from the auditor last week that was on site, completing their kind of review and on-site audit, speaking with Dan and myself, just kind of going over everything from prior to my helm and kind of truing up some year-end accruals that have to be done. Just to remind this board, we are on a modified accrual accounting schedule, which is a very, very unique situation. So I'm going to do updated financials for everyone because we've been talking in cash lately because of our cash position, our financial stability. I talked about actual pennies in the bank. Well, now with mid-year audit, we are talking about Fund 10, General Fund, Fund 23, Fund 26. So you take the General Fund, or let me step back. You take the total cash balances that is comprised of Fund 10, 23, 26, 43, and that makes up the aggregate bucket. So what you're looking at on page 1 on the mid-year projections, we are anticipating a beginning year cash balance. It is not finalized through audit, but that is what they are expecting it to be when they do release the draft and the final version that I'll present to the board of $681,773 in Fund 10. It does not include the student fund, the athletic fund, the food fund, or the nutrition fund, I should say. So that is just that one fund balance. With the cost cutting and expense management that we have implemented throughout the year, it is forecasted to be $2.2 million at the end of the 25-26 school year, bringing our Fund 10 ratio to just under 8%. In the 27-28 school year, there should be no problem being well over that 10% threshold. So that's where we're at. I will be doing a true-up of the mid-year budget into our financial systems and realigning proper things, utilities and insurance, putting them at the school level versus budgeted differently that I kind of inherited when I walked into, just kind of realigning it and making it more accurate for year end.
So the memo attached to the financials gives you kind of those big bucket changes that occurred. Again, I think one of the things I really appreciate Justin's efforts is to align expenses with the right cost center. So I think I shared with you an example when I first got here. Maintenance paid for all the paper in the district, which made absolutely no sense. Again, insurance costs, utility costs, and all. He's worked very hard to get those at the right cost center. So we can look at, okay, what's the cost of this building versus trying to find it from multiple locations. So there's been a lot of work. We've cut expenses to the tune of 800 and, well, actually 1.5 million.
1.5 million this year.
Yeah. So
let me 1.5 million expected cost savings for the year.
Yeah.
So, and that's on my forecast that I saw Mary has the one long page. That is a living, breathing document. So if I get information this morning, I will update that, tomorrow or tonight, and that is a living, breathing document on cash forecasts. So it is our true and best estimate on where we're gonna end the year, so.
Okay. So with that, I move that the board accept the 2025-2026 mid-year budget revisions.
Second.
As presented, okay. And any questions for Justin?
Good news is easy.
It's absolutely wonderful. When I walked into the budget on day 4 of my tenure, we anticipated a excess of a couple $1,000s. So in able to report a $1.5 million swing in 9 months, that's a big swing in 9 months. So we roll that out to year 2. We're in a good financial position in year 2, and then come year 3, depending on our investments and the graphs that we just watched on academic progress and something, that'll be the exciting year is month 25 to 36. So.
One of the things I do want to, before we vote on this, because it's related to this, is we shared that we did have some land parcels in the area that are too small for us to ever do anything with, an acre here, an acre there. And we do have an offer on one that we spoke about not too long ago. It's a very good offer. It's actually much higher than we even talked about. So that will be brought to you for dispensation for you to give us authority to go ahead and move forward. It's actually the owner who borders that piece of property, who for years has assumed it to be his. He came in with a very attractive offer to actually allow that to become his land. So that will come to you at the next board meeting. So if you have questions, certainly don't hesitate to reach out to Justin or I, and we'll be happy to talk more about that. But it will come as a disposition of property at the next board meeting.
And building on that, once the wonderful budget season is underway, but I'm also currently looking at all real estate owned by the district. What is the best use for it? Also evaluating use and square footage within our schools. What is the best, most utilized space? At Singing Hills, we have a growing childcare problem on where am I going to put I call them the littles. We are stressed for space at Singing Hills for the littles. I have to find real estate somewhere to place these kids, and then that will also grow into a full brick and mortar analysis of the district on what I recommend on kind of moving the shells and how to find space and most proper space. In addition to that, we have also started renovations in progress on the Frontier building. So identifying that as possible, childcare, offices, and that progress is currently in the works. So we're almost done sterilizing the second story, and we'll begin hopefully rebuilding that early next month on walls and paint. Right now our current best use is childcare, but I evaluate that on an almost daily basis on what is the best use to revitalize that facility, and with homeschools and other initiatives, I'm kind of out of real estate in that building right now. I have so many claims and so many people that want it. I'm going, okay, it is the field of dreams where I built it, they will come, and they are coming in masses, which has also sparked the analysis and review of our schools and that real estate, of other programs and other opportunities that we have. How do we repurpose or rethink or redefine what is the best use for this space? So that's coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it's in works right now. So.
Wonderful. All right. So with that, if there's no further discussion on 9-1, can we get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Pop?
Aye.
Okay, and next up, we have the cash in lieu fee increase.
I can point out, unfortunately, we just realized the copies that printed did not print all of the slide information, so I'm gonna put them up here so that if you need to see them Some of it, I think the first page printed, but the others, for whatever reason, it's there, but it did not print,
Yeah.
so.
I was thinking when I looked at it, I was
That was
like,
Yeah.
it seems a little empty.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I have my hard copy, as long as you give it back, 'cause I
On
have
mine,
notes
they
on
were
it.
empty as well, actually.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
You're
sorry.
gonna get them
We
here.
just caught
I'll
it.
kind of walk through them. So,
In the drive, right?
Shannon Bigham is kind of the demographic company in the state. He works with all the large metro districts, every one of our surrounding districts, including, has been doing this for years for the Elizabeth School District. He, at my request, is looking at the cash in lieu impact on the development in the city and county, as well as land values. We last did this about 4 years ago, and as everybody knows, land values from 4 years ago are not current to today's standards. So based on his analysis and his recommendation, I put forward an increase in the cash in lieu fee of approximately $800. That will increase only new developments, no existing homes, no existing properties, increasing that cash in lieu of approximately $800. So minimal impact, and it's actually the most conservative figure that he came up with that I elected to go with, just to minimize the impacts on the community and the developers, so.
So
Sorry, it's.
you said only new developments, so,
Correct.
so like
For example.
Independence, some houses aren't built yet.
So
So-
depending on final plating is the trigger. So when they get platted, that's when the clock starts, and that's when we're looking at. I just spoke to a woman last week that demoed a house and is rebuilding. That has no impact on the school district because it's an existing
Right.
count.
But like for Independence, for the new, whatever, the plating and whatever that gets approved. But those it will affect.
If
It
they
doesn't
have
have
not
to be a
paid their
brand new.
fees already,
Okay,
then yes, it will impact.
Well, but Independence has given us land.
well, that's true. So that was a bad example, but, you know, just insert another name and we're
If
good.
if they've already paid, as of, like, right now, it will have no impact.
Okay.
After this board votes, effective tomorrow morning, the new fee will be in
Okay.
place.
Yeah.
And just for context, like when a big development gets approved, they then develop out in smaller sections in the community at a time. So he's talking about final plating. Well, you only final plat certain sections at a time. So while they might, yes, have built out part of that development, there's still part of it that's still yet to be developed out, which now these new fees would be applicable to if we haven't taken land.
And I should have known that, so that was a bad example. I'm sorry. I knew that. As soon as you said it, I'm like, well, that was dumb.
Well, Judge, too. It's okay.
But that is we are still reviewing the impact fees, but that is a very extensive research project and analysis that we have to perform. So this is only the cash in lieu on new development.
So the
And what
cash-
is that trigger for the number of homes that would trigger that type of a impact
One.
fee?
One house can trigger that fee. So if it's a 20-acre plot and that's divided, you know, dad is gifting it to son or daughter, for example, that one house will be impacted by that impact fee up to no cap. So at 100 acres, that's when the district and myself will evaluate for land dedications, but the magic number is 100 acres. So anything 100 acres is a cash in lieu unless negotiated out. Over 100 acres, we can go after land portions, so.
And simply dividing land, which is called like rezoning, wouldn't necessarily trigger that. Again, like you said, it's when you're getting final plat to actually develop a house. That's
Is that
when the impact fee is triggered.
correct? And is that 10 acres on one house or 10 acres on 500 houses? So quite a bit of difference.
So Just so that we're very clear, the last cash in lieu of fee and what it is, since it's,
Yeah, it's not
So-
there's a problem with the file, it's not.
So we are going from cash in lieu for a single-family development house of $2,299 to $3,101. Single-family attached, $11,149 to $1,551. Apartment, $575 to $775, so roughly a $200 increase. In manufactured home, $2,299 to $3,101 as well.
So
So a couple, $100 increase for the attached in the apartments.
So I did see some of the prints that you had up there, and at the very bottom in blue, there's a thing, the fee would increase from $45.46 to $53.48.
That includes the impact fee.
Units.
So you have your cash in lieu and impact.
Oh.
There's that
Everyone
43.
pays the impact, so even the
So
independents,
impact
as an
plus cash
example,
in
pay
lieu.
the impact fee
Okay.
upon plating.
Okay,
So that's set by the county.
okay.
It's something we're talking about potentially being able to at least look at.
The impact fee is set by the county?
impact fee is set by the county.
And does that automatically increase with,
No, it hasn't increased for quite some time, and it is.
do we know how long it's
Not
been?
every county has that ability. Alberta County is one of the few who actually have an impact fee. So Justin's in the process of talking with the county about that to determine, is that something that down the road we should look at? But for a community like Crescents or Independence, who gave us land for a school, they pay only the impact fee per lot.
Okay.
So
So they still have to pay the impact fee, even though they give us
they
land?
have to pay the impact fee regardless. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was like, wait a minute, those aren't the numbers I see.
Justin, can you resend that, because what I posted was incorrect as well.
And just to be clear, those impact fees are firm numbers. They're not things that you negotiate with the developer on. Is that correct? As a
It-
school district, we can negotiate?
We have the ability to fully negotiate, yes. For the statute, it's, here's the math, subject to negotiation, so we can, yes.
I guess what I'm saying is a developer couldn't negotiate to pay less for an impact fee.
For example, let's say there's a very, very large development that has a 200 acre or something here. And at the district's discretion, say, option A is this, but I feel option B that we've negotiated, we do have that ability to negotiate, yes. Will it go down to lessen the burden? It will never do that. It'll be what is best for the district, is my optics. So, but if it's, say, 200 acres of X compared to 150 acres of Y, we do have that ability to negotiate.
Yes, and I was understanding the cash in, or the fee in lieu of land, but I was asking about the impact fee as a separate question.
I believe there is negotiations available on that.
Okay, because it would just be my hope that we would never agree to anything less than what the county has set out as at least a minimum impact fee, and I just want to be on the record
I don't
about
think we
that.
ever have.
Because I am sure that there are negotiations
Mhm.
that developers, especially when you have high density development,
Yeah.
that you'd like to see a little bit less of that.
It would be what is most beneficial to the district.
Yeah,
So
'cause I
it-
could see a scenario where
Right.
Exactly.
there may be, in the aggregate, that
Right.
we might wanna come down in order to get some other advantage or something.
Right,
Look,
perhaps
for
like more
exam-
land dedication or
Look,
something like that.
A great example would be, we waive the impact fee if you drill a well and they put water on there. Something like that could be, or a decrease or a half or something because we gain value because of X, Y, Z. So, but it would always, if that circumstance ever came, I would bring to the board option A, B, C. And I feel that option, whatever that is best for the district because of whatever outlying, there's water, there's already a building, something. So yes, there is.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the board had the final say on whatever that was.
Yeah,
Whatever
if
agreement we-
it's straight
there
math
was.
or otherwise negotiated, which this board would have to approve.
Well, it doesn't look like it's changed much because that chart now up there is from 12/7/23, 2247 is the impact fee for, regardless of the size of.
Impact fee is the
Thing.
same all the way down.
And then now in 26, it's still the same, so that looks like it doesn't
Yeah,
change
impact
much.
fee is not changing not at discussion right now.
I know,
It is
it's
going
not,
to.
but it doesn't look like it changes much, ever. I mean, what triggers a change to it?
The impact fee?
Mhm.
Do we have to ask?
Conversation with the county, that's what Justin started the
It
process.
is.
I recommend we ask.
The impact fee will change based on values of the inputs, i.e. land houses,
Okay.
for example.
Okay.
An acre of land, density of students. So
Okay.
his calculation and algorithm is quite impressive. And that's why the analysis and only this western area demographics is the company that does that.
Yeah.
So there, if we go back up one, to that yellow one.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
the one before?
The other
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so you see the, B2, B5, cost per levels, the inputs, materials cost inputs, all of that does go into the algorithm.
Okay.
So it is a very extensive analysis. It is not, we feel,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't just pull it out of the air.
No.
So,
Yeah, we have to, by
We're glad you're
statute,
on it.
have data by which we're making a decision on. And so
Yeah.
Western Demographics does this for every district in the state, so, or for most districts, I should say, not every.
Well, I'm glad that we're getting the fee in lieu of land updated, and I do, yes, make sure we talk to the county, because it would seem to me that that impact fee should have changed in the last, all we have is what, 3 years ago
Mhm.
slide?
Prior
But that
to
hasn't changed at all.
this conversation, it was changed a couple years ago. Prior to that was decades.
Yeah. So
Wow.
23, this board changed it. We brought that forward to you. It was in the $500 range.
That's the one
So
that was
that's the
500.
one you-
Okay, I
so-
do
so
remember that
Mary
vote,
and-
because I was like,
Mary and
woo-hoo.
Mike and
Oh.
Rhonda were on the board at that point in time, and that,
Yes.
again,
Okay.
to Justin's point, it had never changed for
Okay.
20, 30 years, so,
Yeah.
so
Well,
it was
the good
first
thing
time
is that
updated.
schools,
Yeah.
running a school hasn't increased in that
Yeah.
much.
Oh, absolutely
It's
not.
pretty cheap.
But,
Excellent point. So let me just kind of touch on that for FYI and for anyone listening. A elementary school is $50 million to build. A middle school is 80, and a high school is 120, to Cherry Creek spending $450 million rebuilding.
Oh,
their school.
wow.
So, and that's with the aid
Yowza.
of $1 billion bond they passed last year, and next year they will go for another billion with a B dollar bond to rebuild their high school to the tune of $450 million.
How much of that cost is due to the regulations?
Yeah.
Regulation, strangulation.
But, so when they go, well, how much is an elementary school? We own the land and it is still a $50 million bill. Takes 5 years from concept to keys. So
Wow.
that's, kind of think of the 5, 10, 15-year impact, on this district and growth and development. It's not that far away.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow.
and just to explain the change too, when Shannon did this for us in 23, he was using 2021 values.
Correct.
Now this is based on updated values,
Yeah.
so at the time he didn't have, so that's why it changed. His values increase, this will change, and Justin will keep his eyes on it, and if it needs to change again, we'll bring it back to you.
Yeah,
So.
oh, good. Well, thank you for keeping on track of it.
All right. Well, with that, I move that the board approve the presented changes to cash and lieu fees charged on behalf of the district. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay.
And just a FYI, I wanted to update the board that we are currently 4 interior doors away from opening the shop.
Hallelujah.
So I need
Thank you for providing an update on
Yeah.
that.
2 doubles and 2 singles that literally would have been in already, but they ordered the wrong ones. The vendor ordered the wrong ones. Not our contractor, but they clicked the wrong box.
Yeah.
But we are 4 doors away from having that thing done. So, once they come in, it should be a 1-day job to finish up that shop.
Oh, hallelujah. So we have any estimate of when they're supposed to arrive? Did you say that? I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, they were on order. The last time we did the doors was 3 weeks. And they showed up, the contractor looked at them and said, wrong. And they went, yeah, we ordered the wrong ones, we'll order the right ones. So when they come in, our contractor has said that he will have them in within days. And then we call for our final inspections. We're getting the fire and electrical inspection, I think it's Monday. So then it's just the final, but we can't do that till we have decent information.
So months.
You said 3 weeks to get the other doors?
It was 3 weeks to get the first set of doors in. The new ones were ordered last week.
Okay.
So applying that math is we are 2 weeks from having these doors. But, yeah.
But no promises, because we know how that goes.
Super exciting, but I mean,
Yeah.
if the last thing we're checking off the box to have the CO is doors.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
Good, well, almost there.
Questions? Can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Should think about it.
Thank you. All
I'll make
right.
sure you get the right copy of the cash.
Yeah, I did get it to print right, so it'll be in the
Okay.
drive.
So next up, we have our third reading of revised policy KB, parent engagement in education. I move that the board approve the third and final reading of revised policy KB, parent engagement in education.
Second.
Okay, and discussion.
Yes, I do have discussion, and I appreciate you all waiting to do the final vote on it so that I could give some feedback. Because I do have a few things that I wanted to mention, and they were areas where we had had some changes from the time before, and just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Did we pull some of this language from CASB? Is that where?
That's where we
He
start.
edits, that's where it starts.
Because it seems like some other red.
If class has a policy, we use classes, but if they don't, we use CAP.
Yes,
And then
I
the
could
blue
tell.
is
And
edited
then modify
by
is.
yes, I could tell.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I'll mention that I definitely think we need to change is number 9, where it talks about outcomes for children and youth, and I think I've mentioned this before, but that's a strategy and a tactic to try to assign certain types of rights to youth that's different than children, and I think that it's more appropriate to address all of our students as students rather than to categorize them into different age levels.
So just change it to 4 students.
Yeah, that one needs to be
You
changed
guys
to 4
good,
students.
Mary?
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did that.
absolutely.
And then I thought we'd mentioned this in the past, but I wanted to bring it up again. Number 6, which I think on the final version, yeah, it's still 6 on the final version. We talked about the formal organizations. Now, I know earlier in this part of the policy, we talk about like DAC and SAC type of things. These types of formal organizations, I think, what we're talking about are not those, because we've already mentioned them above. Is that right? This is more like a PTO kind of
PTO.
suggestion. My encouragement would be, rather than to say encourage formal organizations for parents, it would be more like welcome formal organizations, because I understand that there are sometimes families, and I'm one of them. I've been on Capitol Hill testifying for parental rights to have the PTO, the state PTO, saying we shouldn't trust the parents. So I personally would not want to belong to a formal PTO or run a formal PTO. I would prefer to have something that's more organically based, that's a parent organized group. So my encouragement would be to change this language to say that we welcome formal organizations of parents, but not necessarily encourage. I mean, if folks want to do that, or maybe even take out the word formal, just we welcome parent organizations.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't make it sound like we're saying we really only encourage PTO, because they're not as like-minded, I think, with a lot of the families here in Elizabeth School
So
District.
welcome parent and family organizations? Or just parent
Welcome
organizations? Because that was part
organizations.
of that addition, was adding families to every.
Yeah,
school.
and that's the next thing I want to get to actually. What was the reason behind adding the families to the entire policy?
That was Casby's change, just
Yeah.
like they change, it's just, I'm sure, for
It's
parents
shall
that are
versus
not,
will, and it's
families that aren't
it's a
necessarily
had to add
parents,
the
but they're
So-
guardians, or their uncles or aunts raising children.
But here's my concern. My concern is that when you open it up to families, and in this case, we don't even define what family means, right? We define what parent means, but we don't define what family means. Is that aspirationally, so when we're looking to the first two paragraphs of this policy, I think it's fine to aspirationally refer to families because obviously we support families being engaged in their child's education. However, when you start to get into more rights creating language, like the district will inform parents and families, I think we need to consider situations where parents might want one thing for a child, but an aunt or an uncle who might not necessarily have the same rights to direct that child or to even have information about that child, that we're potentially creating a certain type of duty to people in the family, aunt or uncle or grandma or grandpa, that really those parents should maintain, right? The parents have the rights to direct the education and the upbringing of their children, not necessarily, extended family. So my encouragement would be that we consider keeping the aspirational reference to family in. I think the first two paragraphs refers to family in an aspirational way. But when we get to the part that says, to that end, all district schools will, all of this is active language. We're going to consult with not just parents, but families. Does that mean we're consulting with grandma or grandpa or aunts or uncles? Now, if the situation calls for it, maybe we will, but in those cases, they're going to be guardians. And that's already identified above, somebody who's a guardian.
I was going to say, could we say parents/guardians and get rid of families? And that way we're clear that if somebody has custodial
Yes.
rights of a child, then they are equally as engaged as.
I personally think if y'all felt comfortable with that throughout, I think that would be better with the aspirational and the duty language, because that actually, I don't think it creates any legal rights that, would jeopardize a formal, legal lawsuit, but I do think it puts a duty on the school district to have to do outreach and do outreach to people that aren't necessarily decision makers for the student. So I think we should dial back that language and have it pertain specifically to those who can make the guardianship or parental decisions about a child.
So 1 through 8, because one of them was eliminated.
Yes.
In the clean copy, we'll just change where it says parents and families to parents/guardians. Is that okay?
I think that's great. And then yes, if we remove family in general, I was going to recommend we include some kind of a legal disclaimer at the bottom that says we're not assigning any new rights to different types of people about student records or anything like that. But if we're taking family out altogether, then I don't think that we need that.
Well,
But
you're
do you
talking
still want
in
the welcome
in the
changed?
first two paragraphs also to change it to parent and guardian.
I would say if we
Welcome
keep
organizations to parents/guardians.
if we keep family in it at all, I do think it's something like nothing in this policy is intended to expand decision-making authority, committee participation, or access to student records beyond what's provided by state or federal law. Something like that. So if we want to keep that in the aspirational language in the first two paragraphs, then I think we include this disclaimer within the policy. But if we remove that altogether and just make it about technically speaking, I mean, if you look at the title of this policy, the title of this policy is Parent Engagement in Education. It's not Parent and Family Engagement in Education.
You're actually bringing up another good point, though, that the first paragraph, that last or other adult person recognized
Yes.
by the child's school as the child's primary caregiver.
Yes.
That it's not if I recognize them; it's who is illegal.
The legal
that
guardian.
Actually, you're making me
Defined by law.
question that. So to me, we need to say adoptive parent or legal guardian, and then period, and get rid of or other person the child recognizes as a primary caregiver, because that means that if I think aunt is a better caregiver, I'm going to talk to aunt instead of.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of opportunities for loopholes for actual parents, the decision makers of a minor, to potentially have their power or authority usurped.
Yeah, thank you for catching that.
Yeah, that's good. And then in paragraph 2, then, we've kind of got at the end of it for parent and family engagement. So are we going to get rid of that one
I
again too
think
then?
for parent/guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have families in here at all.
Well, to me, this is about parent engagement, so I'm not,
Well, it's in the title.
it is, that's the name of the
Exactly.
policy.
I feel like I should
No, that was
edit
good.
all that and bring it back though for a fourth reading.
I think
Let's
so.
do
Yeah, I
that.
think so
Good
too,
with that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get rid of it also in the second paragraph, and then 1 through 8 will change parent and families to parents/guardians.
And I'll send it to you in advance, so it's.
Yeah,
Right.
Is there anything else?
I think that's good.
Yeah, and I would just say when we're talking about, like, I think we could have language as simple as, you know, a child's parent or guardian as defined by state law or something like that, because even biological parent, in some situations, you might have someone who's adopted, whose biological parent might try to intervene, and you don't want to create any situations where we're confrontational. As a lawyer, I am just trained to look at all the worst case scenarios and then try to avoid that type of language.
That's good, that's good.
So should we say means a child's biological parent who retains custody?
I mean, I wouldn't use the word biological. I would say parent or guardian as defined by state law or something like that.
So it just means a child's, about just a child's parent/adoptive parent/ and legal guardian. Is that what
I
that
think
is?
I think parent is inclusive of adoptive parent.
Yeah.
I think so.
Parent
You don't.
slash
It's not
guardian.
necessary. Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. Okay, means a child's parent/legal guardian. Okay, I like that.
Good job.
Thank you for
I like
catching that, yeah.
Okay. So with that, I would like to amend my motion and move that the board approve the third reading of revised policy KB, parent engagement in education.
Second.
Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we have our first reading of revised policy BEDH, public participation at school board meetings. So basically what we're looking to do is revise our policy, move back to 1 public comment per meeting. So with that, I move that the board approve the first and final reading of revised policy BEDH, public participation at school board meetings.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
I
Just-
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to clarify, this is because we're not going to be doing the combined type of sessions primarily, and everything is going to be
We're not gonna have
separate.
two-
Yeah, and I think it was
Two
just much
separate
simpler to have just one
times
public
of-
comment per meeting,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
yeah.
And I just, and I know kind of, especially when we're looking at the next one, which is the agenda one, but I just wanted to kind of state publicly that, in the red, during times of general public comment at a regular meeting, so that means either a working session or a business session. And then we do specifically say what you can do at a special meeting. So that's
Which is
called
not
out
a
specifically, which is, you know, it's just on the topics on that, but otherwise, we're kind of opening it up to any topic dealing with,
Which is how it was.
which is how it was. But I'm pointing out mainly that regular means both working and business sessions. I just want to kind of point that out, and it's very clear when you get to the agenda policy, but I just wanted to say that for the record.
Awesome. So any further discussion on that one? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, and next up, we have our first reading of revised policy BEDB agenda, and again, revised to move back to 1 public comment per meeting. So with that, I move that the board approve the first and final reading of revised policy BEDB agenda.
Second.
And any more discussion on this one? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
And board planning new business, so our next Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Tuesday,
Yes.
February
This is the
10th,
oddball.
here in the boardroom at the district office, 6 p.m. All right. I'd like to thank everybody. This was some great conversation. I really appreciate it. Great revisions to some comments.
I appreciate the board members that were on here before for all the stuff y'all put in place for reading.
I know. We're lucky enough that we get to walk into
Yeah,
it
we-
and start to see the success of the
It's like,
program.
oh, look what I did. I mean, it's all due to my leadership. I can say.
Oh, with that, I adjourn this meeting at 7:54 p.m.
Thank you for hanging in.